You're listening to Voices of the Valley, brought to you in part by the Upper Ohio Valley Baptist Association and GodspeakTV.com. Your hosts are Ed Goodman and Chuck Morrow. So take a moment, sit back, and enjoy this episode of Voices of the Valley.
Hello everyone, this is Chuck Morrow.
My name is Ed Goodman.
And welcome to Voices of the Valley with the Upper Ohio Valley Baptist Association. And we want to thank GodspeakTV.com for hosting us on their channel here. We have a great show in store for you today. And so what we want to do is start off say that, normally our Director of Missions, Ed Goodman, we're working as co-host on this today. But today, Ed is in a different role with our show today.
Yeah, I guess at the risk of sounding like I'm puffing myself up, I'm the special guest of today's show because I want to talk to our audience a little bit about the All In initiative. People probably hear their pastors talk about stepping out of their comfort zone. And so I think that's what I'm going to do today. Rather than being a co-host, I'm just going to be a guest.
You're going
to have a chance to grill me, Chuck.
You know what, everyone? This is like a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, so I'm going to go ahead and take this and grill into our DOM. Anyways, I believe that a lot of our pastors may already be speaking about All In with some of their sermon messages and things that are going on. So today, we're actually going to get an inside scoop on really what the All In initiative is and how things are able to go about. So, Ed, I think that it would be useful for us to start off by really explaining a little bit of the previous part of this going into All In and why we're going into this All In initiative and how it's formed.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. That kind of sets the stage for it. Last year, 2017, the West Virginia Convention of Southern Baptists, that's our state convention, they have a different theme every year. And last year, the theme was All In. The state convention ministers, staff, employees were communicating to the churches of our state that they're all in with the mission of God. They're all in with our cooperative ministry purpose. And they're all in with regards to the Cooperative Program, the fulfillment of the Great Commission. And the Lord just really impressed upon my heart the need for our churches and our association to adopt this vision and this initiative for 2018. And so as the DOM, I need to, explain a little bit about what happened when I was called to this role. The search committee, which consisted of Phil Campbell, Larry Garrison, Bobby Thomas, and Bruce Taylor, when we were meeting last spring and talking about the possibility of God calling me to the Upper Ohio Valley Baptist Association, the thing that we all agreed on was the need for church strengthening throughout the Southern Baptist Convention, and in particular in the Upper Ohio Valley Baptist Association. And so as we began to talk and God began to really clarify my call to this association, I knew beyond a shadow of a doubt that my mandate from God in being the director of missions was to help facilitate stronger churches and more impactful ministries in our region. And so that's why the All In initiative has come about. So that's a little bit behind how this initiative came to be, because All In is a church strengthening initiative.
Church strengthening, I believe, is something that regardless of the size of your church, regardless of how many ministries there are going on in your church, regardless of the preaching or anything else, I believe that we all churches all together have that room to grow more. We all have that ability to continue to moving forward in many different ways. And even within our churches themselves, there's areas that we need to grow at still.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that, because here's the reality. Every church in our association is on mission for Jesus Christ. And so the reality is all 21 churches in the Upper Ohio Valley Baptist Association are doing a good work. The only thing that the association desires to do is to come along our churches with greater intentionality and help them improve in some ways the good work that they're already doing. So the good work that's going on can get just a little bit better. And we believe that. I think that every child of God who desires to glorify God can honestly say, no matter how effective their ministry is, I think we could be better. And so it's it's that simple philosophy that is really the driving force behind this All-In initiative.
Yes, I can completely agree. After, for all of you out there, I've gotten the chance since August, and actually just some time before August, to get a chance to know Ed's heart and where he's coming from on a lot of different things on the ministry level. And I'll tell you what, he is definitely ministry driven in all aspects of what he does, and that's one reason why I'm really thankful to be here every day working side by side with him, just to be able to go and see these things that's actually happening in ministry. It is just one of those things that's just fully outstanding to be able to see. And looking at All In, I believe we've established really where it's come from and how this is going. But now looking at the church level, okay, we're going to look at the church level now. What is All In when we look at the church, and how do we want to approach that?
That's a good question too. The Southern Baptist Convention consists of 47,000 churches and another 4,000 missions that are churches, food pantries, and other ministerial entities. Okay. However, I find that in a lot of the churches that I attend, not just in our association, but across the Southern Baptist Convention, people may know who I am. People may know that I'm the director of missions. They may have even heard about something called the state convention. But I don't think that the majority of the people in our churches and in our pews understand, how does the Southern Baptist Convention operate? Who is this director of missions that comes around every 3 to 5 months? Who is this guy that I see? What is his role? And what does it mean to be a part of the Upper Ohio Valley Baptist Association? What does it mean to be a part of the West Virginia Convention of Southern Baptists? What does it really mean to be a part of the Southern Baptist Convention? You see, the reality, Chuck, is that all 51,000 autonomous entities in the Southern Baptist Convention are cooperating together for the same mission. But I think a lot of people in our churches may not know exactly how we cooperate. And I feel like it's my duty and responsibility as the director of missions for our association to explain that. And so the purpose of the All-In initiative is really twofold. Number one, it's to educate our churches about the Southern Baptist Convention, the State Convention, the Upper Ohio Valley Baptist Association, and really help specify what our mission is and how we cooperate. There's something called the Cooperative Program that allows us to reach to the uttermost parts of the earth to preach the gospel to people who may have never even heard the name of Jesus Christ. What a great opportunity. And
Amen.
So I want the people in our churches to be able to know about that, because listen, I'm all in for the mission and the ministry of the Southern Baptist Convention and the Upper Ohio Valley Baptist Association. And all 21 churches have an integral role in that mission. I can't think of a better way to invest my life than getting the gospel to the ends of the earth. And so that's the first part of the All-In initiative, is educating our churches. And there's also a second purpose, and that is to just facilitate greater cooperation. I think there may be some churches in our association that would say, after I present information about our cooperative ministry, they would say, wow, man, I never knew that we were in partnership with over 51,000 other churches and ministries and independent entities. that are committed to cooperating to get the gospel to the ends of the earth. And anybody with even a slight understanding of how significant this is ought to respond by saying, wow, how can I be a part of this cooperative ministry endeavor in a greater way? And I want to be there for our churches and the people in our churches to help explain that, because I don't think there's any greater investment of any individual life than to take the gospel to the uttermost parts of the earth.
I completely agree. It goes back to, last night at church, Pastor Jim Higginson was talking about the Great Commission, and we talked about the last verses of Matthew chapter 28, and then we also looked in Acts. And, that's the mandate that Jesus go, therefore, into all the world, everywhere, anywhere. And we have that true opportunity as Southern Baptists specifically, especially with the Cooperative Program. And it's amazing that, I could fund a missionary that's in China. I can fund a missionary in Uganda, or I can fund a missionary that's in Madagascar. I mean, all these different places, or India, and basically also missionaries that are in closed countries that they can't or don't have the true opportunity to be out, forceful, open. And if they are, they get thrown in jail. They're persecuted, killed. I mean, there's a lot that goes on, but we have the opportunity. My giving works with that.
That's exactly right. And it's really amazing because Southern Baptists have the privilege of facilitating the largest missionary force in human history through the Cooperative Program. Our International Mission Board has missionaries in over 200 countries worldwide. Many of those countries, like you said, are closed countries where it is illegal. You can literally be executed for sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. And we have an opportunity to get the gospel to the people in those countries. And, that is our mandate. Jesus said in Matthew 28, to make disciples of all nations. And Southern Baptists are taking that mandate seriously. And I can't tell you how proud I am to be a Southern Baptist, and I'm thankful that we have the privilege to invest our lives in something that will never die. Every penny that you give to the Cooperative Program is an investment in eternity. And you see, it's not about money. It's about what that money facilitates. I can take $1 and I can go buy a cheeseburger at Wendy's. But you know what? I could also take that same dollar and I could invest it in the Cooperative Program. Because you know what? If I get a 99-cent cheeseburger at Wendy's, in 3 hours, 5 hours, I'll be hungry again. But I invest $1 in the Cooperative Program, and the impact on eternity will never perish.
Amen. Looking at the vision side of things, I want to shift our conversation to the vision now, vision within the local church, and how All In can work side by side with the vision that church specifically has, and how All In can come in and work with it. Can you explain anything on that, or how that direction would go?
Absolutely. Well, one of the things that we're asking all 21 churches in our association to do in 2018 is to set aside one Sunday, a specific Sunday, to focus on associational ministry. And so, at the risk of sounding arrogant or kind of imposing, I'm giving the churches an opportunity to invite their director of missions to fill the pulpit that Sunday. Pastors will be able to take that Sunday off, and the congregations will be able to hear how this collective vision of All In works, and about the cooperative ministry of Southern Baptists across the spectrum. So any church that will set aside a Sunday can choose to do that, and then contact our associational office. I'm asking the churches to do that between the 1st of February and the end of September. I would like to be able, ideally, to get into all the churches between the beginning of February and the end of December, so that then when we come together for our annual meeting in October, we can reflect on how the All In initiative has been embraced by our congregations. And so The sermon that I preached that morning will be derived from Matthew 28 in the Great Commission, but it will focus on the specifics of how Southern Baptists cooperate together. And then I also transition from that overarching mission to specifically how the mission of the Upper Ohio Valley Baptist Association functions, and the vision and the direction that we're going to go. You know, Chuck, I believe with all my heart that the association exists for the church. There are some associations in the Southern Baptist Convention. I mean, there are 1,136 associations in the Southern Baptist Convention, and I'm aware of many who have historically, acted in such a way that churches exist to fund their ministry. And we believe here at the Upper Ohio Valley Baptist Association that the churches don't exist for the association, but rather the association exists for the church. And so as the director of missions, my conviction is very simple. Our association will only have as effective a ministry as the impact we can make on the local church. And so, as I said earlier, churches are doing a good work, but I would have a hard time believing that any church is satisfied with where their ministry currently is. If you're running 20 on Sunday mornings, or if you're running 220 on Sunday mornings, I believe any Christian worth their salt would have to say, we want to reach more. How can we reach more? What steps can we take to strengthen our ministry? Every church in our association is doing a good work. The association simply wants to intentionally stand with the church and ask questions about how can we get better, how can we reach more, how can we disciple more effectively, and that's what the All-In Initiative is all about.
I'm going to throw this number out there. 390,000.
Mm-hmm.
What's important about that number?
Well, there are 445,000 people who live in the 10 counties that our 21 churches serve in the Upper Ohio Valley Baptist Association. Our 21 churches serve 10 counties in 3 states. 445,000 people live in those 10 counties, and over 392,000 are lost and on their way to hell. And I don't think that any of us should ever go to sleep at night without pondering on the reality that many of these people will die eternally apart from a relationship with Jesus Christ, and they will spend an eternity in hell. And so, eternal death is probably the most horrific concept in all of Scripture. And so I think that we ought to have a burden for all 392,000 of these people. And to be quite frank, Chuck, I think that our churches ought to position themselves to be able to receive these people when they darken the doors of our churches, because whether they realize it or not, they're looking for the light of the world. So when they darken our doors, we better be prepared to give them the light of the world.
That's right. We recently were at a meeting at the health department here in Moundsville, and we were looking at the drug addiction problem, the opioid problem that's in the valley, specifically here in Marshall County where we are at. And what they're looking at is trying to find ways to partner with local churches to help educate and fight and battle and work with those who are on addiction. And the thing is that you just mentioned the light. One of the people that were at that meeting says that at the end of the counseling session, sometimes they look and they just have this hopeless look. And sometimes they'll ask, can you pray with me, to the counselor that they're with? And that's where the unique opportunity, this 390,000, it's across the board. It's rich people, it's poor people, it's people who have addictions, people who don't, it's people with just multitudes of things that are going on. It doesn't matter who you are. And also, that 390,000 also in our pews.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And that's a whole nother conversation if you talk about unregenerate church membership. We'll save that for another time, because that can sometimes be a controversial topic of discussion. But I will say this about the All-In Initiative, okay? I think that it's a rather audacious and bold initiative. And I want you to understand that when I invite churches to bring their director of missions in, and I talk about our collective mission, and then I say, look, the association wants to help you strengthen an already good ministry that's doing a good work, that leaves me, and that leaves you, Chuck, that leaves us particularly vulnerable. Because when I say, look, we want to help you if you're looking to develop an assimilation strategy or a building program, or if you want to tweak a children's ministry or a youth ministry, or if you want to launch a seniors ministry, or if you want to revitalize Sunday school or tweak Sunday school, anything that a church desires to do, the association stands ready and willing to help with. However, that means that we have to be capable to deliver the goods. And so that's going to put a particularly heavy responsibility on us. And here's how the All-In Initiative works. After you invite your DOM to preach, the people in your pews are going to be better educated on our collective and cooperative mission. And then I'm leaving the church by inviting them to take advantage of the All-In ministry by dreaming, all right? Every church needs to feel free to dream and say, look, what are we currently doing that is not really yielding results, or what can we be doing that will yield greater results? And from that point, when they decide the one area that they want to begin focusing on, then they can call the association. And what the associational staff will do is come and have a private consultation with the pastor and just learn the pastor's heart and his perspective. Okay, what are you particularly happy about as the pastor of this church? What are some things that maybe frustrate you as the pastor of this church? And look, whether people realize it or not, pastors do get frustrated. These men have a divine call, but they are not supermen, okay? And they are like us. They get frustrated. They, they might even have seasons of a darkness of the soul or depression. That's reality. I don't think most people really understand the burden that pastors carry, because most of these men are so much more concerned about the spiritual health of their congregation than many people in their congregations are concerned about their own spiritual health. Now, that may be tough for some people to hear, but it's reality, and I'm not going to back away from that truth. And I particularly love the pastors in our association because they're unity conscious, they're biblically minded, and they are ministry driven. And every one of the pastors in our association are heroes as far as I'm concerned. And I don't care if that sounds cheesy or idealistic, that is reality. But the first step in the All-In Initiative, after inviting your DOM to speak, is to then decide an area of ministry that the churches want to focus on. Then we'll have a private consultation with the pastor, because from that point, the pastor will have to lead any sort of changes that need to occur at the church level. And if the pastor doesn't champion it, it's not going to matter anyway. So the private consultation with the pastor is designed to focus and hone in on that one area of ministry that the church wants to focus on. And then from that point, we bring in the leadership, and we just have brainstorming sessions and a think tank. And through that process, we put together a strategy. So whether you're talking about an assimilation strategy, a building program, a children's ministry, seniors ministry, youth ministry, Sunday school tweaking, discipleship, or evangelism process, any of those things are going to be a matter of putting together a strategy and putting it into practice. So, that's kind of a broad view of what the All-In Initiative is about. But I'm telling you, I think that it has the potential to absolutely shake the spiritual foundations of this region.
And in addition to that, we have resources here within the association. We have several of our pastors are definitely on board. We have ways to be able to engage the local church in a different way to be able to utilize the plan that's being set within each one of those churches when the consultation is done. So they're not in it alone. We have resources. We have ability to be able to be hands and feet and boots on the ground with the church to help implement those things.
That's exactly right. Gary Eller, the pastor of Emmanuel Baptist Church in St. Clairsville, Ohio, and the pastor of Fairpoint Community Church, He has already gotten on board. He's been preaching to his congregation that he's all in, and that those congregations are all in. I preached there yesterday, February the 4th, at both churches, and so they've gotten on board with the All In initiative, and I have already preached there and done the All In presentation. Mike Kelly has invited me from Cameron Baptist Church, and I believe I'm on the schedule for June the 7th, either the 10th or the 17th. I put it in my calendar, but they're on board, and so they have already given an invitation to the director of missions, and so now that's 2 churches down. We've got 19 to go, and so I'm looking forward to the other 19 churches extending an invitation to their director of missions, so that we can get everybody on the same page, and you can begin to dream about how to even be more effective in the good work of gospel ministry and fulfilling the Great Commission.
You know, Ed, I really want to thank you for taking the time to go through this for us and share that vision that's been on your heart and mind that God's laid upon you. It's something that I know that can benefit our churches sincerely, deeply, and that we can be able to reach those that are around our churches and our cities, towns, and counties and states for the gospel of Jesus Christ. And thank you very much for sharing that information and taking the time to explain what All In is about.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to do that. I'm grateful for the privilege of being on the broadcast, and it's a great blessing in my life to be one of the voices in the Valley.
Amen. You know, I want to transition over to some events that we have going on as well that's coming up very quickly. We're only a month away practically from the armed threat opportunity to see Dr. Brady Stevens. He's going to be at Temple Baptist Church on March the 1st, Thursday evening at 6 p.m. And the workshop seminar that he's putting on is Responding to an Armed Threat. It's something that's on the minds of a lot of our churches, especially with recent shootings and recent events that's happened here. So what he's going to cover is that it can happen here. He'll go through case studies of previous attacks, how to prepare for the unthinkable, and how to respond when it all happens, and then what to do when it's over. So those are really important items that he will hit on. We're actually going to have Dr. Brady Stevens on as a special guest here in the coming weeks. So just keep listening for the opportunity for when he comes out. So you won't want to miss this. Again, it's Thursday evening, March the 1st, 2018 at 6 p.m. over at Temple Baptist Church here in Moundsville, 2300 2nd Street. If you want any more information on that, feel free to contact us here at the office, upperohio@gmail.com, or just feel free to call us here or go to uovba.com. You can shoot me a message directly from there as well. Also, on March the 11th at 5 p.m., we have another opportunity to be in worship for a prayer concert and learn more about prayer. We recently had one this past September, so this is a great opportunity for us to spark and renew that awakening in us for Christ, and to share him with our neighbors through worship, prayer, and intercession for revival. But this will be at 5 p.m. Sunday, March 11th at Open Door Baptist Church. This is at 3432 Eldersville Road in Colliers, West Virginia, 26035. This is going to be a really great event to attend. We had a really good showing and turnout for the last one, and I just want to encourage everyone to come out to this. If you're really wanting to learn more about prayer and how prayer can be even more useful in your life, you know, you can never get enough from prayer. I heard from someone the other day, a few weeks ago actually, that, hey, I'm always up for free prayer. And, you know, this is one of those opportunities for us to learn more about God and our relationship with him. But I do want to thank everyone for being part of this broadcast and listening to what Ed had to explain about with the All In. We are all in, and I hope that you are all in as well. And I also want to encourage you today, as you live your life, to be God's voice in the valley, no matter where you are.
I passed all my failures to the point of my need, and when the sin that I carried was all I could see, and when I could not reach mercy mercy came running.